Hello and how you doing? And welcome back to Two Jagoffs. I am your host, Austin Cairns, and I am right here in Point Park University's Media Hub. And ladies and gentlemen, we got yet another special interview for Interview Sunday. And I'm very excited for this next one because I feel like I'm going to be the student in this episode. Yeah, I'm going to go there with the ageism thing. Paul Michaels wasn't a fan of that last week, but that's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Wrestling Mayhem Show's one and only Michael Sorg.
Hey, glad to be here. Glad to be back in Point Park. Considering I was teaching podcasting last time I was here.
And now you're doing it.
Now I'm doing one. And I've done, like I was telling you beforehand, we've done some work with Next Pittsburgh actually in this very room. I think we're on the other end, but last time, but I can't remember. Maybe it was. I don't know where they put the table.
But now you're back here, you're doing it. And thank you for coming down and doing this, Sorg. I really appreciate you. You've been a nice mentor for me. I've always came and talked to you at the shows and stuff like that. So thank you for allowing me to come on your show. I hope this is a good way of me returning the favor to you.
No, I appreciate it. I've been watching what you're doing. I'm always encouraged when I just see people that have some drive and get it. I love, I see so much with the wrestlers, and that's why, when we bring people on our podcast, or I want to work with people or share this stuff, it's like, oh, they want to do this and they got the right idea on this, and whether they make it or not, they're going to try and they got something, and definitely from that first, like you filmed for us at the Beaver County Boom back in June, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was
long
like,
time
oh,
ago.
cool, I got a videographer. Okay. It was, oh, he's doing this other stuff. And then it's like on commentary, I'm like, I ain't mad. I'm not mad at all. You jam really good with that crew down there at 880, and I'm really happy to see it.
Awesome, and I really appreciate those kind words. And I mean, you've been around for quite some time now in the business. You're doing a lot of different stuff. Wrestling Mayhem Show, Austin. Do you mind drawing out the picture for us with that? Like, what's all the stuff you're involved in?
Well, Wrestling Mayhem Show is the longest project that I've done, which came out of, we were talking beforehand, WesternPAJuggalos.com was like my community thing that I worked on, and did this radio. We were using Shoutcast radio, and streaming on my Comcast internet, and I had people logging in and being radio DJs and completely stealing music, by the way. Like we're playing ICP and Twisted and all the Juggalo stuff and Cottonmouth Kings and whatever we wanted to do. And I had like people logging from like California and stuff that I still haven't met. And then Mayhem Show started, and then we wanted to do a tech show, and then there was a point where we had like a movie show and this and that. And I was like, okay, that's too much. They're not getting any traction, And Awesome Cast is the tech show, and then we have other of clients, Fish Without Bait with my friend Jim L.R. Meyer, who made an appearance at the Wrestling Mayhem Show, April Fool's show that you were part of, with some guy named John, and he's a real behavioral therapist from one of the gigs I got when I went independent. That was out at this company, and we were doing kind of a podcast thing, and he's like, well, I want to do my own thing afterwards. And then, God, I have some client stuff that we've worked on and still working on, and that I don't need to get into. That's Sidekick Media Services, which we've separated from Sorgatron Media because we had to get my name and maybe less of the wrestling. Now we're bringing kind of the wrestling back into it because it's the thing we do the most, and we train and everything with 880 Wrestling on Thursday nights, bringing kids in from we got a good relationship with the University of Pittsburgh, and we've had a lot of people from there, and whoever else just wants to pick up a camera and see if they can do this thing,
And obviously, I know IndieWrestling.us is also the home of where a lot of the wrestling that can be found that you're with. And I mean, it feels like almost every major promotion in Pittsburgh is a part of IndieWrestling.us in some form or fashion.
Or has been,
yeah.
For some period or whatever. It kind of grew out of the .us is because honestly, there was an IndieWrestling.net that was this terrible message board back in the day. Some of the old timers, you probably ask MV about it, and some of those guys, and Gory especially was definitely around there because Gory's the one that got me into local independent wrestling. Actually, was finally the guy that I ran into. It was just like, hey, you should come out and see the show. I'm just like, I've been thinking about it, and like finally get over that hump of hey, I want to. Because, that little, kind of social anxiety, apparently. I found out that's what it's been this whole time after all these years. But anyways, it's kind of my own kind of, place to, I wanted a platform to try to push Pittsburgh wrestling. Because since I'd been doing it, I started filming in, I think it was 2008. They brought me on there. And I took over from Tony Fiore that was doing Digital Horizons, so he did a lot of the 2000s. So if you see cool CM Punk, AJ Styles footage, that's probably his. and we try to keep it alive for them and everything because I think it's cool stuff everybody needs to see. That's why most of it's on YouTube because I don't believe in keeping this stuff locked up tight or anything like that. WWE's not going to call me for this footage, anything like that. So
we need it for next year's Mania.
I think we've all been kind of hoping we got all this Elias stuff over here and this can we make us and all the promotions a lot of money on it? And yeah, it's not happening. I've been checking my email every day for that one message from WWE, and all I got was a cease and desist one time, which is another story. But it wasn't that bad. It was just stop using our logos for your podcast. I'm like, okay. It was a wrap-up show, and I was lazy on the podcast art that one time. So, anyways, but it took over in 2012 for productions for IWC and RWA, and it was always just, okay, let's figure this out. How do we get in front of more people? Has always been my mission ever since then. Mm-hmm. And hey, I feel like between the projects we're working on and everything else and some of the companies that have come up that have some different ideas, I am proud. I don't say proud a lot. I really don't. We were talking about how I don't celebrate as much as I should certain things before this. But I'm really happy with I think more people are seeing. I think I tweeted this a few months ago because I was looking at just the numbers we had, and I'm looking at the numbers Enjoy was doing, and I was looking at just from the promotions we work with. So not even counting the people I don't work with, because God knows what their numbers are, right? And they're working their asses off. And I was more people are watching Pittsburgh wrestling and know about Pittsburgh wrestling than ever have. It's just I think I've seen clips from here go viral and everything, and I felt like it wasn't a part of the conversation so long ago. And look at the talent that's come out of here in the last 15, 20 years. Again, Elias, Lee Moriarty, Shane Taylor via Chicago. Mm-hmm. I just watched Wardlow on American Gladiators this morning. I was like, brother, I remember you feuding with RJ City with Justin LaBar in your corner from the trip. What was this, it's just so wild. It's walking wild, I just saw him in AAA doing his pose from when he was the Filipino supermodel back in the day as Shima Zion. Wow. He posted that, and I'm like, hey, look familiar, guy, old timers, kind of thing. And it's just really cool to see that. And Pittsburgh wrestling is literally everywhere for this stuff.
Absolutely. And I mean, you see the rise of other promotions. Obviously, like you've mentioned, 880 is doing their own thing right now. Enjoy is doing their thing. And I know you're working with so many promotions right now, but 880, I want to talk specifically because that one's a little different than these other promotions. They all run mostly monthly shows. 880 is correct me if I'm wrong, the only weekly show that's really around here, right?
This is the phrase that I try to feed in your ear every once in a while. The longest running episodic live professional wrestling show on the internet streaming. I screwed it up already. In the Southwest Pennsylvania region, because I don't want to go beyond that, because I'm sure I want to say in the country or anything.
Yeah, because there's probably another one around there.
I know there's nobody in Western Pennsylvania. I could maybe say the Midwest, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, just to be safe.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you about that one because obviously you're doing more of the production side of things with independent wrestling. How hard is it doing a weekly show versus some of these monthly shows or some of these other projects that you've been involved in?
It is it's an endurance test, okay? Between that and obviously we've been, talking about so I go away for 2 months.
Yeah.
So, and now who's going to handle that while I'm gone? Are we going to do pre-tapes, things like that? Other scenarios come up. We had a venue kind of issue and or miscommunication or whatever it was, and we ended up doing a free show on the garage at Penn Brewery, a couple weeks ago. Meanwhile, I'm getting off a plane at 3:30 p.m. from what I'm doing that week. It's just okay, how are we doing this? Because this is a bigger deal kind of thing, and it worked out. And it was fine for the most part. So, and it's, and we've been through 3 different locations, and something happens with the venue, or it gets weird, or things happen, right? We're not. None of us can afford a nice office building that is ours and that nobody's going to mess with us in. So there's a lot of that kind of situation. But it's really cool because then we have a place where I'm training people, and that was the whole thing. That was the whole idea. It's reps for the wrestlers. It's reps for you guys on commentary now. I got other commentaries. One guy recently was like, I need to come down to 880. I got to see if they'll let me in. I need reps. I haven't been doing this because I've been doing something else too. And I was just like, yeah, like that's what it's for, you know. Anything something screws up. And I know like Thursday nights have become this thing, and people come from Canada and New York City and I think like North Carolina or something, you know, for a free show. For a free show that's been running for 3 years, you know. That happened in the first year. And I'm just like, wait, why are they coming from Brooklyn? Oh, they have nobody doing footage for them. Oh, okay. And even our like training people are doing better than what they get from other places. That's crazy.
That is crazy. And when you put it like that too, I mean, like there's so many people that's like coming in from all these outer places. And I think at first, like it even said like 880 was originally supposed to be like a training school. I would argue that it's honestly one of the very few promotions that's running in Pittsburgh. That's not just a training school; it's its own entity now.
It is. Well, it was the promotion around the training school. The Thursday nights are training shows, and anytime when somebody says, "Oh, I'm not happy with how this round," I was like, "It's a training show." Or like, "Yeah, but it's coming bigger." It's like, "Yeah, but all these are trainees." That like, no, none of my guys are getting paid. So like, let's like we'll throw out some bells and whistles when you do the Saturday shows and the Friday shows, but. Hey, did that not work out? That sucks. I put in the YouTube. This is a training partnership between Psychic Media Services and 880 Wrestling. You know what I mean? And even the wrestlers. Like it's like people. You know, I hear it like some of these guys are so bad. I've heard some really terrible things about 880. And it's just like, I work on this every week, right? And it's just like, yeah, these kids are like, yeah, I've seen people screw up on Super Indie. Because you put a training person in there, and Super Indie is just one like a big show that comes to my head, and that this is across the board. This is every promotion. You're trying to find a spot for your training kids, and so now you just have this like potentially really terrible match in the middle of whoever John Gresham and whoever came in to do a baller freaking match. Like what does that say? And then they disappear, in some promotions after like one or two shots, it's just like, well, then where are they supposed to get the reps? So many people have come to 880 over the years, which is a point of contention too, but like a lot of them have come to 880, become 880 people that are from somewhere else, or they come for a bit and have gone to some really cool, we see referees that are getting really, really big because they came in, got some reps, that they needed and found that next thing, like, I think that's cool. Like, I don't think we should be overprotective of protecting that. I don't believe that we should be upset when people stick around for a couple months and go do something cool. I think you should celebrate everybody that stepped through your door and you were some part of them getting to that next step.
I like that. I like the way you worded that, actually, because like 880's been through what, like 3 different eras now? There's the New Kensington era, there was the shop, and now there's the warehouse. Yeah.
Warehouse up in the Allentown, just up the hill from the south side. So
how's it running in those 3 locations? Was there a favorite that you like to set a production in? Actually, no, I want Sorg's ranking. Rank them 1 to 3 out of the 3 locations that you've had to run in.
God, I mean, vibe-wise, I am really struggling between the New Ken and the south side.
That's fair.
Because you were stuck with everybody. It was on this side of the ring. And it was like standing, like just seeing that hard cam over the crowd, and we couldn't fit that many people in there, they were cramped. But I just love that sea of people effect. You can't see it's terrible when like somebody's down in a hole because you can't see the back, especially when we had that short ring on the south side.
Oh yeah.
But God, that first show on the south side, when I don't know what happened. We had this smoky thing. I don't know if we were trying the smoke machine that always seemed to do too much. Love you, CL. But I felt like we were just like smoke room wrestling, and it was so cool. They had all that graffiti on the wall, and then even in New Ken, they had, I think Facade and some other people came in and did those murals that were always in the background. Like, that was so cool. And that was the biggest thing that kind of grasped onto was, because MV and I talked about this and we were kind of pitching these ideas to each other. And I knew what he was doing up in New York City, and I went to his Polycult show when it was here. And then we went to, I went and did one of his in Brooklyn, which was wild in general. And I just loved that vibe. You know, I loved the scene that he was working in. I loved the vibe of the shows that were going on, you know, and this is like before I think Enjoy was just becoming a thing through COVID. So I haven't really been able to attend anything, which was also such a cool vibe, right? And it was so different. I was used to, and no shade, but I kind of call it gymnasium wrestling now. And that is your RW in good friends of ours, you know, your RWA, your Rise, your VCW, your IWC. It's you have a ring and the 2PW, and you have seats and everybody's seated and we're good and we're watching a show, you know, whereas no matter what, even Enjoy when they're kind of like a part, like the crowd is the show. The crowd is, you know, because I've always been a big believer, because I always think about what took me to get to wrestling was running into Gory wearing a Shaggy 2 Dope fuck off shirt and a mosh pit of dope to finally say, you should come to a show. And I've been watching it because they were on local TV at the time. I watched John McChesney at Super Indy 4, you know, get the crap chopped out of him. The skinny kid gets crap chopped out of by Low Key. I think probably Homicide was in that. Definitely Christopher Daniels had an X Division championship he's walking around with at that time. I was like, what? And they're in a gymnasium at like CCAC or something, right? Yeah, whatever that is. And finally, like, but still, like, to get out of my house, drive down to wherever, which was wherever. I'm still figuring out Pittsburgh at that point. And so that's why I was always a big believer in you show off. What is it like to be here? Is this a place I want to be? It was always like, oh, I don't know about streaming. You know, people won't buy tickets. I'm like, is Monday Night Raw free every week for people? More or less? More or less.
Oh, more or less.
I mean, just say they're on regular. Let's just say everybody has cable and they're not paying to watch the USA. It's not Netflix era, right?
Yeah, no, you can see it everywhere now.
Right. It's just like, okay, like you watch every week, but when you come to town, you're going to buy a ticket.
That is true. Yeah.
And if you don't think that's going to happen, what's the confidence in your own product? I'm always big on that. Even when it's like, oh, like I hate this other promotion popped up. It's like, if you don't think you can compete with them, or I'm going to tell you it's a different audience, so you shouldn't even be thinking about them unless you want to use the same talent. Like, aren't you confident in what you're doing? You know, are you worried about the people on your roster? Are you worried about the matches, the show you're putting on, that you don't think people are going to buy a ticket for you? Like, then you're not making the show worthwhile, right?
It's all about putting in the effort. It's all about putting in the talent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is going to be really interesting coming from you because I've had you know this. I've had a lot of wrestlers in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a lot of commentators, a lot of broadcasters in the studio, but you're really the first kind of behind the scenes person that I've had in here.
Okay.
And since you've worked with all these different promotions, I'm going to kind of put you on the spot a little bit if you don't mind. Wrestling tribalism, okay? Yeah,
it's not just for fans anymore.
Wrestling tribalism is a thing that's real.
Yes.
I've experienced it. You've probably experienced it.
And you're talking about the backstage tribalism. I'm
gonna let you take this however you so please.
God.
Okay. So, what's your thoughts on it? Do you believe it exists? And if so, how have you came over it?
Yes. And
okay.
I said, honestly, the first time that I experienced a version of this was from your teacher, that was once known as Sterling James Keenan, having a big post because one of the promotions told him he can't work for another place in town. And it was and this has always been a thing. It's like, you can't tell me that you can't work at a place if you're not paying me a living wage. And this is like mid 2000s money, you know? So,
yeah.
You know, and which is like, let's be honest, independent wrestling, nobody's getting like that much, you know what I mean?
No.
You know, even, you know, production or whatever, you know, it's like nobody's, you know, paying mortgage bills with this stuff, you know, rent or whatever. So there's that. So that was my first experience with it. So in my experience and the things that I've run into, and it hasn't been much, nobody's told me you can't do something. They might get a little pissy about it. But to me, my philosophy has always been the person that tells you can't work with somebody else, unless you find a really good reason and they make a case for you, which usually isn't, they just say you can't do that, they're the one that you don't want to work for. That's what I tell wrestlers too, because I'm just like, listen, like the person that was giving me the biggest stink about it was the person that I don't work for anymore, and I have the longest relationship with the other company, you know. So like, and also God bless. as an aside, who would think that RWA is the company that would have been the most consistent in my career over almost 17 years? You know what I mean? They were fans sitting in the front row at IWC. That's when I first experienced that crew. And then they decided to start running a company. And it is, I still think, the most consistent in the area. When they have a bad night, it's still a good night for most other promotions. And they've been doing it for 17 years, like the most consistent, same promoter, fans that remember everything. If a dude from 10 years ago pops up tomorrow, this weekend, because they also have a show up against 880, it's going to be a really fun night on IndieWrestling.us for me. And I know this, as of this recording, let's just say. We'll see how that is. And like, they'll remember that person that you have not seen, not somebody that got to TV, somebody that's from like North Carolina that they haven't booked for 10 years. They will be there for it.
They'll remember that.
It's so crazy. It's like the West Newton audience, lovingly Pennsylvania area thing in this ratty gymnasium that's got a little bit of a makeover, not much, is just the most rabid fan base out of any promotion in the area. I almost made a bad comparison there, but I was like, they're like the Defy crew in Washington Hall. No, not really. If it was less cool and more Pennsylvania,
then it's them.
But it is, man. They go wild, and they got a tremendous booker in Quick Magnum that will play that crowd like a damn fiddle through the definitely way too many matches and talking segments through the night in the heat of the summer in a gymnasium without AC. It's just like it's like they made me love the gauntlet match again that I hate conceptually. I hate it when it's on Raw. What's the beef with the gauntlet match? I know Indy does it well. Okay, that hardcore one was kind of cool that they did at 880 last year with Brandon St. James. But like that was the one that took me for a ride, told like 3 different stories that all made sense and got me into it sitting at the DVD booth that night. And I was just like, okay, like, and then, yeah, Quinn's one of the best minds. And I'm glad he's someplace where his problem is the booking goes too well and he has too many stories because he's used to just something happening and they drop out because the promoter pissed off somebody this week, kind of thing. So, but yeah, no, we are, I always say an embarrassment of riches. Yeah, like you can go do that. You can go to enjoy it. Mr. Small's Theater, which I've watched so many bands at, and then you got 880 doing their thing. And it's just like, and it's, again, like, I'm always like, this is different crowds, guys. The only crossover is Bradley.
Now that you say that, that's honestly true. I just thought
about it. He doesn't go to RWA. I've not gone and doing RWA yet.
Bradley's never been to RWA?
No, I don't think so.
How?
I know. Because, well, one, they run against everybody else. Because and do not lose anybody. Because literally, I gave a Super Indie DVD to, when we were working both, I gave a Super Indie DVD to River Dirt Dan, who helps out there. And he's like, I don't like it. It's too slow. I'm like, what, brother? Are you kidding me? When they were doing like, man, they had some guys just doing like Southern wrestling, at that time. It's just like, okay, man. I tried. I don't get it, but I get it, Yeah. But again, God, it's so overdone, but different flavors of ice cream. Mm-hmm. And we have like we're a box of Neapolitan in the great, at least within 45 minutes of the city here. Yeah. And I love that we're in the city, which is something that I had been shouting up and down all these promoters for 20 years. Like, gotta get in the city. You gotta get, there's people, you're not hitting a market here. Mm-hmm. And it took other companies coming in and doing it for it to happen. Enjoy 880, Wrestle Pit with Frost and Benjamin. I ran that a couple of times and tried that out. And now we're getting other companies trying to come in. I've never seen this. I've never noticed it. Maybe they didn't promote well. Like Ricardo Rodriguez, his promotion came in and did some taping or something. I never saw anything of it, but I know some friends were on it. This Only Wrestlers brand that I've never heard of before is coming.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, it's interesting.
What, it was like a Tuesday or whatever?
It's a Tuesday. Well, I'm learning a lot because I Well, I'm on the show now, so I'm helping out. Turns out I have a couple contacts on the show that looped me in, and so I'm very interested to see what they do. I've worked with 247 in the past, so I haven't seen their new arena. I know they've been I talked to them back then. I was like, hey, when you get going, let me know. I know some promotions. I would love a new venue, a nice new venue. And, so it's going to be cool to kind of check that out and see how, I always love just seeing how other production guys run. I'm not running the show. I'm not directing anything like that. We're just doing supplying some assistance there locally here. So, but that's always like the coolest thing. It's like, okay, and let's see how it does. I don't know how it's going to go, honestly. It's a Tuesday. It's, Prospect Pro Wrestling's that Friday doing the Cauliflower Alley show. So, and once again, I don't think the same people are going to both shows. So, but it's interesting. It's so interesting that people want to come to Pittsburgh and be part of this market. That are things like that.
Yeah, because when you think indie wrestling, it feels like you think of like you're in a barn in the middle of nowhere kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
like that's kind of the vibe. But now you're starting to see like some more promotions, like actually in the thick of it. Like
I've been in relatively a bar in Tennessee watching wrestling before. So. Oh my God, when I first started traveling 10 years ago for Baja with SAE, I would just I had nothing else to do. So I'm like, okay, what independent promotions are near me? I saw the wildest stuff. Detroit wrestling is the wildest shit. What's
about the Detroit wrestling? Is it just like? I mean, I know it's in Detroit, so it's probably not the
well,
not the
I mean, you've
area.
seen one, shouts to Hardcam Frio, who I think is just the sole videographer in the entirety of Detroit wrestling. Dude, they're like one, you go to a horror slam show and there's all this glass, and it's just the wildest thing. You'll see. I remember we went to a show. It was like Superstars of Wrestling or something. Detroit Superstars of Wrestling, All Stars. I don't know what it was. And I'd heard of some of these guys, and this is coming out COVID, so we're outside. And we go through this play center that's aquatic themed.
Okay.
It's like got the arcade and the laser tag. It's kind of like that place up in Harmer, if you're familiar. I don't know what they call it these days. And then you walk outside, and there's the ring. I'm like, okay. And you look over here, and there's go-karts. Okay. And then you look over here is a not maintained mini golf. It has growth over it, right? And then there's a ring, and I'm watching this thing, and it's just like the characters are so wild. And you have like this guy, he came as a different character down to 880 eventually. He is literally wearing a Cobra Kai gi and calls him some I think it's some takeoff of Johnny Lawrence as his name, and has like two other dudes. And then Soul Taker comes on unannounced. You've seen Soul Taker.
I've seen Soul Taker.
I'm not going to get into it. I'm also not going to say his other name.
It's probably for the best.
God, what a dude. So there's that. And I was so excited. I was like, I could see Soul Taker, and he just killed an entire class of Cobra Kai, apparently. And then like 2 days later, we went to another show that was allegedly a TV taping of some sort. I don't know where. I don't know how Detroit TV works. And then like I go, and I'm like, Beastman's like, oh yeah, I know Soul Taker, so drop my name. So I went over and started talking to him, and then he comes back over and starts talking to me, and I look up, and this dude DBA, and this is like a small like bar kind of situation. The rings kind of basically fits in that room, and then we're like in this upper room watching. And I'm like, this dude DBA, he has a tendency to light his forearm on fire and then come off the top rope. So this is happening while I'm talking to the Soul Taker. And if those don't know, look him up. It's a black Undertaker is the thing.
Yeah. And
his catchphrase is "No souls matter." So put the rest together. There's more to it. The internet will touch base on it. And it's just the wildest. Like I went to one Rude Boy from the old JCW ICP stuff was running a show. I was up there, and I'm in Del Rey, which I only know from ICP songs. So I know I'm not in a great place. And it's a international big time wrestling. Not the big time wrestling that comes through and does the ballpark shows or anything.
Yeah.
It's different. And again, it's Hall of Fame night. So now I'm here. Beastman's on this show too, by chance, and Congo Kong and stuff. So there's a couple people I know. And it's at this place. It was a free show at a pizza bar on a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, this already sounds like a disaster.
It's not a a disaster.
It wasn't a disaster?
But then they're like doing like inductions of these people that are sitting in the back, and they're like the royalty of Detroit wrestling, right?
Oh my God.
And it's just like, I don't know, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm kind of loving it right now. And they got pizza.
Was the pizza at least free, or did you have to pay for it?
I know you had to pay for the pizza. The whole point is
Oh.
a free show, so you could go buy pizza.
Okay,
Like
I
that
see.
was the gimmick, I think. And it was run by a Rude Boy, so they're like this like half juggalo thing going on too. And I'm freaking in Del Rey, which is like where they're from, and I was like, damn, man. And I know to be careful in Detroit because Zach Allen's mother told me to run stop signs on the way to the one show. So, and she faced off against Brock Lesnar.
I still can't get over the dude that lit his forearm on fire. I'm still on that.
Out of everything I just said,
That's the one thing that caught me off guard.
the coolest thing about doing this, my wife and I do this all the
Yeah.
time. We're like, we get to say things that sound absolutely insane, but are things that we experienced.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just I was just joking. My cameraman Rob, we watched like AEW pay-per-views, and I was like, hey, remember that time you almost killed Okada with your cord at the Times Square show? It's just like, a sentence of words that just makes no sense, right? And you're just like, yeah, that's a thing that happened.
I feel like that just sums up professional wrestling.
Oh, it
honestly.
really did. Plus the Muppet Show concept, which you've heard my Muppet Show concept,
I've
right?
heard it's the new thing at the end, right? With the
No. I shared a post recently about
Okay.
this that I found too. But VCW, and I think VCW is the most Muppet Show when it comes to wrestling. Because what is the Muppet Show? You get to see the behind the scenes of they're just trying to put on a show. And somebody explained this really well recently. They're trying to put together a show, but they're not entirely good at it. But they have a lot of passion to do it. And a lot of it usually kind of falls apart and is crazy, and there's colorful characters and costumes and da-da-da-da, and they're just like trying to shove them out the door and get the show done, and then everything kind of works out there, right?
Yeah.
That's like VCW in a nutshell. Especially when your booker is the beast man. Like, and that's most of them. Like anything I've been like set up backstage and I'm looking around, I'm just watching like a mime and a caveman and a Zeke Mercer and a Mad Dog and that guy that was Insanity in NXT. And I'm just like, this is the most insane just thing, to see backstage at a wrestling show. And that's most of them, right? You just colorful characters, colorful costumes, people doing a weird dance routine that's them working out their match that is still magic to me, right? And then sometimes you book your own show and you also have a purple dragon. So like
Moment of the night for sure. Moment of the
Gary the Dragon is over and we're trying to figure out merch for him.
Oh, get on a t-shirt, get on a hat, get a mug.
So
Bestseller easily.
Yes, Dungeons and Dragons matches are the greatest, and that was the greatest. That was probably the most expensive thing on that show that I had to purchase, and I am so happy for it. And we're
Worth every dime.
and I'm trying to figure out other ways to use Gary.
Can we have Gary in a match? Is
Not
Gary even be able to get in the ring?
Not with Dutters in this costume again. No, we were trying to figure out how to get him in the ring. We need steps. It's a whole process.
Shocked Gary was able to go through the curtain.
The
honestly.
legs on this dragon costume are so short.
Yeah.
It's just and the person inside is so tall. They're like, we can't do this. Like I was like so that's why we did the eating of the head of the dungeon master the way we did through the rope. So. But it worked out. The visual was great, and it might have been the most over thing the entire night. So, and I was very happy how a lot of the stuff came off that night. So,
Oh, that was a great night.
yeah.
Now, we were talking about before, you obviously work with a bunch of different promotions, like you mentioned the VCWs of the world, the RWAs, the 880s of the world. And I like how you said, like, all of them are, like, kind of different and unique in their own way. Kind of break that down a little bit for me. Like, how are they unique in its own way?
Well, and that also extends to, like, all that extends to Defy, New Japan, Warrior Wrestling, like
Yeah,
all those
all
others, like done some TNA shows, like in interesting ways. WrestleCon, it is like, as far as you're talking about difference backstage.
Yeah, difference backstage, setup, production. Like, obviously, like, we were just talking about, like, the 880 stuff. Like,
honestly,
I know.
I think you find on the production side, other than there's just levels of people that like, oh, I'm on a show where the sound guy's not going to know what he's doing, and then he leaves halfway through the show because somebody yelled at him for not doing his job. That was a fun day.
I'm about to say, it sounds like a real story.
As long as like everybody's kind of there and kind of is adequately capable, let's say. And that's going to happen. You're going to get on a show. You're going to try a random show, and you're like, wait, your audio is this, kind of things, which is what they said to me when I did the TNA show. And they're like, where's our headsets? I'm like, I don't have headsets. What are you paying me to do the show? We're on Twitch. What are we doing? So, and that's what I was like, okay, I got to look into headsets. But that's how you learn. But I think production-wise, I think the biggest takeaway I've had is, and even from talking to people at the big levels, at the big three-letter companies, it's kind of the same. It's the same across the board. You know what I mean? It's like maybe a little more pressure and stress. I don't think I've heard. I think I hate wrestling more from the people that work the big companies. So, which was like, don't tell me that, man. Don't tell me that, man. That's no. But man, I think on the production side, like, you're always dealing with the same problems. I watched WrestleMania and I saw a dude like during the main event, Roman and CM Punk. They have that fancy camera they use a lot of times on entrances and for the in-ring announcements. You saw it. You saw a glitch come up when they switched to it, and you saw the guy promptly get out, and they switched to a different method. And it was like, oh, I know what that feeling's like. I saw him screw up an entrance concept in literally the first entrance with the Logan Paul team. That didn't work out. I have in my Slack for my production guys. I have it's called like shit goes wrong or something like that. And it's not to make fun of, oh, WWE screwed up. It was like, look, they can screw up too. It's not the end of the world when somebody goes wrong on your side, and that's coming from the person who just like hates his work like almost every time he goes out there and does it, because I don't think it's good enough, So I'm also trying to talk to myself on that, but also let these guys know, because some of them, like, some people I've had like produce for me, like, are just like, I just wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting in the game for it. It was like, dude, I did a New Japan show and I felt like I biffed it. The one time they let me direct a show. So, but there was also a lot of technical issues. The headsets didn't work. The SDI cord went out during a John Moxley trios match.
Oh, God. Worst time ever.
This is the night that Mercedes was supposed to win the Strong Championship, and it was Willow because she broke her ankle in the match.
Oh,
yeah. So like we have that going on top of everything else. The lighting, there wasn't any lighting. He had to recolor the entire thing afterwards when they posted it for Strong. Oof. Like stuff like that. Like, it's just like, shout out to Patrick Price out there with New Japan. Mm-hmm. He has been instrumental to that quality you do see now when you watch a New Japan show in America versus a few years ago, because there was like a lot of like, oh, we can do it this way, no, we should do it this way, and there's some things that have definitely gone wrong over the years, and it's also really hard to communicate with the Japanese company sometimes, probably. So, I've just seeing that experimentation and everything like that. Even just trying to figure out how this promo is supposed to be shot, because I do backstage promos for them every once in a while. And it's like, okay, we're gonna do what? Okay, now we're doing this. Okay, and then we're like, I'm literally translating with the guy through. He pulled up Google Translate on his phone, and I'm just like, okay, let's go, man. And this dude's like in a suit. And it just like, and so it's kind of intimidating. And then you see he goes over and talks to Sumi. What's his name? Sumi Sakai. Someone's going to get me if I screwed that up. And they're having a conversation. I'm just like, all right, man, you got to let me in on this. Whatever's going on right now. But it was great. It's great though. It's you're going to run into the same stuff. As far as differences go, like, I mean, that really comes from head down if they're organized. Some people are. There's two things. Are they invested in the production side of things? Mm-hmm. There's too many shows that I've shown up to over the years, and 880 is like one of the places where I'm like, oh, we're on the same boat and we're going to get this together, right? Where we're just kind of there doing our thing. We have no idea what's going to happen. We're lucky if we get a sheet to find out who the winners are. Wow. And we're just kind of there to shoot some wrestling and hope we get it. And then they'll have 10 people go off multiple ways. I'm like, I got 2 cameras and nobody on hard cam. What do you want me to do? All right. Oh, you didn't get my shot. That's literally happened at Pit Fight. And I would be like, you didn't get us doing this thing. I'm like, brother, do you know what we had? Like, tell me what I was supposed to do about it. And nobody gave me a heads up on anything going on. But then, yeah, so I mean, that's the biggest thing is just like, oh, we're here, we're going to capture this. They kind of give us an idea, you know, and then there's like this whole thing where I have somebody in a headset in the back that says, okay, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. Like, I want the thing where Tommy Dreamer came in my ear. I wasn't even running the show, I was just on tech for this one. And it was like, okay, they're going to take a dive and they're going off this way. Well, they went the wrong side, but that's okay. Okay, this is going to happen. You know, like things like that. You get that in your head. Like that's what I want to happen. You know, I want somebody in my ear. Zeke has been really good about this. Keith has been really building with this. Keith is God. Shout out to Keith. That is the one thing that helps me not go insane every week at 880. Is I suggest things that we learned from Exodus Pro, which is the most organized show I've ever worked on.
Exodus is okay.
And you know the list of people I've worked with.
Yeah.
Exodus Pro. With EC3 and that crew, even when we weren't even streaming, that footage hasn't even been out. Some of the early shows that we did with them, I don't know what their plan is. They're doing something else right now, but they did it like TV. The most concise scripts that I've ever seen. Hey, this spot, make sure you get this. This is the go home. This is the glory shot. I think I told you I wanted to drag you up to one of those if we were still doing them. Because I've been trying to cycle my people through just like, this is how you do this. This is literally how you do this. And they're leaning on us to get to thread the needle on the part they don't know, but they know how to put the show together. And they're in our ears, and I got Anthony Green in my ear, I got EC3 in my ear. Like that's like, okay, this is how we do it. They're Jared up there, their audio guy. He's been on a few things with me. He's the one that's like wants to like tinker and do better and make new, like get, you know, try new things and everything like that. He's always mentioned, hey, did you know you can do this in this program that you use? I'm like, oh, let me look at that, you know. Like he's the dude you want in your corner, you know. And it's so cool. And we built such a really cool flow with things for like, especially the live streams on there, which we're on like NWA YouTube, which is crazy. You know,
that's so cool, actually.
They have such a great feeder. Look at what Pretty Boy Smooth's doing now. He's doing great. You know, other guys are. You know, I think I've seen like, you know, Cowpoke is definitely in a different gear right now from the stuff he's been learning up there. Yep. You know, and that's you know, you know, I heard this thing recently about like, well, if you want to go to wrestling school, you go to somebody that's been on TV or something and that's been there. And it was like, yeah, but like, it's okay to go to your local and just learn how to wrestle, but like don't stop there. Like Britt Baker started at IWC, but she went and, you know, trained at AIW and trained at and did all those, you know, seminars and camps and, you know, I don't know about camps, but, you know, and she was around. You know, Frost and Benjamin did the same thing. They were at the dojo for Ring of Honor for a while, and were doing everything they could and getting around wherever they could in front of people and learning new things, and you know, it's worked out really good. Both of them are in decent places right now. You know, God bless the Savage Gentleman for having a job that he can travel and not take a bump.
Yeah, how about that?
With the Savannah Bananas, like insane. I didn't have that in the cards, but
I didn't have it in the cards that he's going to announce it on here. He told me he had a big announcement he was making. I should have known with the all yellow he was wearing.
Oh my God, he's a fire. I was like, wait, so is he playing? I didn't understand. It's like, oh, they're basically the cheerleaders. Okay, that's great. Good for him, man. You know, that dude just turned 40, you know, and he has like, he still looks like that at 40. God bless him for that, because he got into the game late and everything, and her too. And they both have some pretty good stuff going on. So, but where was I?
We were talking about Savage Gentleman before.
Oh, yeah. So, you know, as far as like, you'll go, okay, back to the companies being different. Yeah, no, that for me, it's that. And I think how much you hear the wrestlers complain about the, you know, but you're always going to have that, you know, everybody's going to, you know, one thing that somebody told me as soon as I decided I was going to run a show, you know, even the freebie, you know, anniversary one we did for Wrestling Mayhem Show, and then the April Fool's show we just did, it was like, yeah, so-and-so's kind of butthurt you didn't book them. I was like, listen, I have a very specific philosophy if I'm going to do this that's based on all the mistakes I see all the companies do. You know, there will be 6 matches. I may sway to a 7. You will not have more. We did 6 matches on that April Fool's show. Yeah. And it felt like enough.
It was long.
We packed them. You know, I'm not putting somebody on a show just to get them on a show. We're not doing the Battle Royal thing, although I do have an idea for a Battle Royal.
Oh, boy.
But and I don't even have like the next show planned or anything like that. Like I need to see where things are. I need to get through my travel season with my client. But it's because everybody is trying, all the talent is trying to bump themselves up and create value in themselves if they're, hopefully if they're doing it right, and so when they like, wait, why am I here? What am I getting out of this? Is I think the question that mostly happens with them versus us. We're just like, hey, let's get a cool show and make sure that we can put on a cool show and we're happy with what we put out there with what you guys have done in the ring. Because I think the most disrespectful thing to the people that are putting their bodies in line in the ring is not documenting that. Like you guys, like in my philosophy is these guys are taking bumps, doing this. You're not paying them enough. Like, let's be honest, nobody's getting paid enough. Like across the board, nobody's getting paid enough. And you can argue some people in the big leagues are getting paid enough or not. And we're all here because we kind of love this thing. So if we're not providing that footage, which gets them to other places, shows them off that they can use to show themselves off, then that's one less person for that person to take your booking.
That's a good way to put it.
It's one less reason. Like, why are kids coming to Pittsburgh for free from Brooklyn or Canada or all these other places? Because they're really happy with how it looks and they can put it on their social media and it does better, and whenever I see a highlight reel and I see that 80% of the footage has that indiewrestling.us in the corner, I think we're doing our job right.
You did your job.
Like we've done our job, and that's the mission. And I think we're accomplishing that, and we're trying to figure out all the blocks in the background to make sure it keeps happening. Which I think is how most wrestling promotions are also running.
Well, speaking from the commentary side of things, I definitely need to pull clips from your guys' stuff to show off like commentary a little bit. So I have that same mindset.
It's usually mixed pretty well. I'm not like the best audio mixer, and actually, I don't know if you've seen some of the. No, you're not in those chats, but there's some back channels on what we need to do to make that a little better. So I'm focusing. I got a different focus. Because it's always like, hey, how can we do this? How can we do more of this? Hey, what does it look like when we had a third camera here? And now it's like, okay, this is a problem in this scenario. This keeps getting missed.
Yeah.
I don't always have the cool sound guy that mixes all my stuff for me at Mr. Smalls, and we've watched how some of the bigger companies will do it. I've worked with a Defy and New Japan shows and I've watched a dude that does like NBA games and he's got like this 16, 20 channel mixer sitting at ECW Arena and I'm watching him because I'm just on, tech duty basically that day. And I'm just watching him just like easing these knobs up and down the entire show. So he's bringing it up and down based on crowd noise, what's happening. He's got the camera mics and everything. He is just live mixing it. We're just like, all right, crowd sounds pretty good. Okay, commentary is pretty good. Okay, let's focus on the match and switch the show because we don't have an audio person. We don't. We're so low maintenance, not low maintenance, but low cost. And I think we still do more than most people for that. Ask for twice what we charge for wrestling.
Yeah.
So, and also I need to acknowledge that everybody's not like an ADD nut like me that loves being able to do all the things back there, but also acknowledge, I call it the 60% rule, especially if you're on a big show. Like you notice like certain people are on the big shows and certain people are maybe helping me in the back or something like that. There's a 60% rule that I've heard when you're doing production. Everybody needs to plan for doing 60% of their capacity to do a job. Because when something goes wrong, the stream goes down, the audio goes out, a microphone goes down, a camera goes down, and now you're running at 120% because you're already running at 100, like that's when things fall apart. And that's when you have a cascading failure. That's when the internet went down, you're trying to fix that. Oh, now you're missing shots because you're also the switcher guy. Oh, the audio's messed up. You forgot to cue it back because you're doing too many things, right? So, we have somebody that does the shows when I'm not there, and she's like, I always forget the audio. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, I know. And it's like, and I'm asking, you can't do all the things I need to remember. You can't do all the things I can, because that comes from doing it for 20 years, and switching and mixing my own show while I'm hosting the show every week, Imagine if you were sitting here and you had to do 5 guests that are coming over Zoom and a chat room and a switcher in front of you to make sure you're on the right shot.
And you're trying to also keep your thoughts that you're trying to say,
and
too.
you're trying to keep a coherent conversation with everybody and traffic cop the conversation.
Yeah. I don't know if I would be able to do that. God bless you for that one.
I've learned it's because there's a problem with my brain. I'm pretty sure they like, why am I like always want to do this?
Yeah.
And always feel really good when I'm in the middle of a show. And it was like, oh my God, I'm chasing a high. That's why you notice I'm typically, and I'm kind of, I'm really just kind of in the zone is the biggest thing, but I'm also sometimes kind of miserable before, and then I'm miserable afterwards. It's the performance.
Yeah.
Like, this is on stage. I love the performance. I used to do, I did theater, I did this, and I was like, this is my stage, is the performance. People are watching this. And, you know, as a producer, like or even doing Taco Mania, where it's just me with the camera, and I was like, oh God, I kind of love this. Like, it's terrible because it's just me, and if I miss a shot, I missed everything. But I forgot how much I loved doing that, you know, or I'm in a camera basically in a mosh pit at a New Fear City show in a art gallery in Los Angeles, you know, like that's the stuff. Like, again, I talk about, you know, I think we're talking about before, I don't want to work in an office in Nashville editing videos. I want to be at the arena.
Yeah.
I want to feel that.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite thing, because the coolest damn thing I'm still have the benefit of doing when they're not too far away and they'll bring me in, is New Japan. And I, you know, thankfully I'm not in the high end, like in like I'm just doing backstage right now. So I have a lot of time to like sneak out there and feel the crowd, you know, and watch a little bit and everything, you know. And then I catch the producer next to me, like, you know, and we BS for a little bit, you know, about one thing or another. And just like that's the coolest thing, you know. And then you turn around and just like, oh no, Mercedes, I'm with you. Yes, you know, stuff like that. It's just like, it's so bonkers, right? But I want the crowd. I want to feel that. That's why I loved going to WrestleMania. You know, it wasn't just because it's WrestleMania. Just like the first time when I went to 29, we were doing WrestleCon because we released the Montreal Theory with Joe Dabrowski, and walking in and just being in a space with 60,000 people, I've never felt that before. And we're all on the same page. I don't care if I'm in the nosebleeds. We're all going crazy when Dominic wins the IC belt. Well, we're all going crazy when Joe Henry shows up. We all went crazy when Cody Rhodes showed up in Dallas, right? Like I you know, I don't know if I'll go to another Mania, man, but I went to a couple SummerSlams and stuff, and I'm just like, that is the coolest feeling in the world. I don't care about being next to the ring. You're just in there sharing that with 50, 60, 70,000 people. Like, holy crap, that is the greatest feeling in the world.
Such a cool experience. And something I've learned too from working with you and from just working with other production teams is that if you're putting on any kind of wrestling event or even just an event in general, you need to have a production team first. Production should always come first.
Hey, maybe let them know the dates where you're shooting, where you're doing the show, and don't expect them just to show up and not have anybody else to work with, especially if they might be kind of okay at this. So
that's some good advice.
Or life things, man. Like how many times, like, brother, I can't do your show. I kind of have a family thing going on. Yeah. You know, it's Easter, right? That was more WrestleMania. Oh. That was a tough conversation. Hey, Mom, I'm going to Vegas for WrestleMania. I can't do Easter. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just go hang out with your brother. And then my brother's like, well, we're having WrestleMania at our house with our friends, too.
That's hilarious.
But, you know, my brother, God bless, my brother got married in West Newton in a barn.
Oh my goodness!
There was an RWA show that night. We went to do the RWA show right after.
That's amazing.
Like, it was an afternoon, so I was just like, this really works out. You guys got no like post event after the thing, right? All right, let's go.
Please tell me the bride and groom was in the seats at the RWA show.
They were not.
Oh, no, that would have been amazing.
No, they definitely.
Just imagine you pan over and you just see them like.
No. Although there was I was telling somebody about this. There was a legitimate marriage at RWA one time.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Jessie Belle Smothers.
Okay. Who
is now at WoW Superheroes. I forget what her name is, and Shane Andrews. Had my wife was doing wedding cupcakes for people at the time, and they had a real reception afterwards.
That's insane.
Yeah,
that's actually insane. You think you see it all, huh?
I'm pretty sure they got divorced, but
well.
I mean, the wrestling curse, I guess. But still, like, that happened. That's a legit thing. Like,
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't the Sunny Kiss wedding, which
Oh, gosh.
I think I got COVID that day, and my wife had to do it.
I seen the replay of it.
My God. I'm watching. It's like, it is, again, and I think they're just like, we'll never do anything like that again. But that it got reported as potentially legitimate by like Outsports and stuff like that. And then even like that's the first time you saw like Marco Narciso and a lot of those guys. And like the moment I saw Marco Narciso as the flower girl was just like, this is perfect. This is great.
They win.
This is amazing. She's like messaging me and she's just like, yeah, they're going through like a rehearsal and everything. I'm like, well, okay. That's not something you hear about at wrestling shows. There's no walkthroughs. There's no like, it's not the WrestleMania entrance washer you see Triple H do and stuff with people.
No.
I wish like Marco's kind of the first one we did that with.
Yeah.
Is the only choreographed one that we've done, and barely, we may have done another one since, but nobody does that, until you do New Japan and TNA and stuff. I watched them just get the lighting right for the Moose entrance at ECW Arena all day. I was like, okay, all right, I see what we're doing here, So, but again, that's all the kind of stuff. If I had lights and everything, and again, Aaron Woods is the one. God bless Aaron and Zane Woods for making that show look so good. That we do in that dingy warehouse up in Allentown, right? So, but it's just like, I'm completely. Somebody asked me what I wanted to do. I think it was actually EC3 that asked me this one time. He's like, where do you want to go with this? I'm just like, I just want to keep doing this, but bigger, And I'm kind of okay if it doesn't get bigger because I love the small shows as much as the big shows. I have the same feeling doing a New Japan show as I do. A Renegade Wrestling Alliance show in West Newton. You know what I mean? It's like, let's go, let's put on a show, let's make sure everybody's happy with this, and I still watch hours and hours and hours of wrestling every week. It's like, everybody's like, how do you still watch this stuff? Like, you're doing all this. And I was like, I find the time, I want to do it, I want to see what's happening, and I want to see what the production stuff is doing so I can get ideas. That's how I learned how we do things because I watched the Video Monkeys at Raw when it sucked for all those years, So, okay, they're doing this cool stuff with like every time I'm sitting at SummerSlam in Cleveland, and then I don't see this, and I'm getting these messages. Sorg, when are we getting a ref cam? I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And then like 2 matches later, I saw it on the big screen. I'm like, oh, we are not doing that, guys. And then somebody sends me like one for $60 at Walmart, and I'm like, oh God.
They don't even do them anymore now.
No, they tried it. It was like, TNA figured that out 10 years before. Or they got a drone, and then like start getting messages from them. When are we going to get a drone? It's not even the wrestling companies. It's just my friends that help me with the shows. It's Riz and Chachi and all of them. And it's just like, guys, settle down. I'm lucky I have cameras right now. Okay, just settle down with this stuff and everything. So, but. I just, and plus, on the other side, it's like, all my friends are on there. I want to see what my old friends are up to that we did, that we filmed for however, like, what's RJ up to? What's Lee up to? What's Elias up to? What's, any of those guys, I mean, that's just still the coolest thing, or I've had a chance to encounter so many people that are on there in one way or another. Right. Whether it be seeing him on an indie show or a Ring of Honor show like 15 years ago, or ran into him at WrestleCon or something, or hey, shot this thing, that nobody ever saw, which is a couple of those too. I think that's I'm just kind of all in, and I'm not like I get physically and emotionally burnt out, but I'm not like, oh, I can't watch wrestling for a week. You know what I mean?
So like you can like work like 3 straight shows and then still be able to make the time to watch and go back and see.
What do you think I do when I go home after 880?
You're watching.
Oh man, I didn't finish Dynamite last night.
Oh,
TNA was on, right? Like stuff like that. Like that's what I have on while I'm editing shows and things like that. That is until I just started Dungeon Carl. I'm on book 5 and I'm still working on that.
I feel you on that honestly because I'll watch Raw in class because I have a 6 to 9 class on Monday. So I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna watch Raw.
All respect. Raw and SmackDown kind of become a podcast like background noise for me because there's so much talking.
Oh,
and it's just like, okay, I can.
That's fair.
I can work on this over here. I can work on a little bit of social media work while I'm hearing CM Punk just go on and on about whatever, So it's just like putting a podcast on versus like AEW is I got to sit and watch this thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is worth paying attention to, and
that's fair.
And that's And we're having that conversation on the podcast after WrestleMania about that tonight. So, and I wish God, and it's like, I'm like, man, I wish I could keep up with NWA. I wish I could, like Ring of Honor, I'll catch up with a month at a time.
Yeah.
And I know the guy that edits it, so I'm like, yo, you screwed this up. Hey, did you check on this? This file's messed up, right? Which I'm sure he appreciates. Like TNA too. It's just like, I want to see all that stuff and how they're doing because there's something different going on now, right? And they're really on the come up again. I want to see how they do. Or are they going to trip again? Who knows, right? And knowing that I've worked with half those people. I've worked with those announcers on the show, and all that kind of stuff. That's cool, And even just seeing the people coming up on the indies that are doing tremendous stuff, like seeing Veda doing all the stuff she's doing. Oh my God.
She's everywhere.
She's working her ass off. I remember she was just like a random wrestler on the PWO shows in Cleveland, and now she's doing, it's like, maybe they have a match for her if Marty Bell was available, when nobody knew who any of these people were. And again, I just love seeing everybody working their asses off. I love seeing that Beastman was all over WrestleMania. I love to see that referee George Ross was all over WrestleMania.
Shout out to George Ross.
I saw that Runway were out there, but I haven't seen what they've done yet, because I was working that weekend too, so I couldn't really keep up. But my buddy's like watching everything and just like, hey, so-and-so did this, kind of thing. God, JCW is coming up.
Yeah.
How many terrible gathering GCWs where it didn't look like they gave a crap that I went to, and now it's they're like doing full like this great production, and they got like Russo and Billy Corrigan's involved in some way, and all these guys. It's just like, okay, this is everything I wanted it to be. Let's go, like it's so cool, and there's such an appetite for it, and and there's so. Like my friend that doesn't watch any mainstream wrestling right now, sometimes he'll come for an AEW pay-per-view, is like keeping me updated on what's going on JCW. I was like, bro, I need to get time for that.
They sound like fun.
It's a blast, and they've gotten like more serious, and they got Joe Dombrowski involved, which is wild to me because I would go on these trips and like. Especially when we went to Detroit for all the Zach Allen stuff. And like, we got to listen to ICP if we're going to Detroit, buddy. And like, I'm educating him on that whole scene up there. And now like 10 years later, he's like the lead commentator or whatever up there. Just like, good thing I gave you all that research, huh? So, between me and Gowan, right?
Oh my gosh. Probably had a lot of Celine Dion going on in that car too, huh?
Oh my God. What did I say a couple weeks ago on the podcast? I want the day where there's a WrestleMania karaoke and Joe Dombrowski steps up and schools everybody on the room on the DX Kings of Rock. Because, Mike, have you been on a road trip with Joe?
I've been on many.
Oh.
I've been on many.
Okay,
yes.
So you have the Titanic Celine Dion song.
Yep.
He's done the King of Rock, right? It's impressive, isn't it?
It's pretty impressive, actually.
Go white boy. On that one. Have you had a Don West series with him? This may have been because it was timely.
Okay.
But poor Tatiana was our driver going out to Chicago one time. We were out there for AAW, and we're on the way back. I've taken over the wheel at this point. She's trying to get some sleep, and she went like the whole way. It was like the last 3 hours. She's like, I'm going to need some. I'm like, okay. Don West had just passed, and Joe. The story goes that Joe knew about Don West when he was like the baseball card guy selling on the not QVC channel that came on like after that. Ever heard about the Cool Block in Pittsburgh where it was like Shotgun Saturday Night, PWX from Pittsburgh, and then ECW. Okay. Was like the block that they had down here. I was like out of TV range to get this where I lived. I'm so jealous of this era in the late 90s. And then Don West would be selling you baseball cards. And have you ever seen these clips of Don West back in the day?
Maybe I have.
Do you know much? Oh, you need to research Don
I do need
This should be part of your curriculum.
It will be. Corey Graves, sign me up. Okay.
Corey Graves, please add Don West to your curriculum at the school at Point Park. Anyways. So he's pulling up clips and we're like just doing our own like Don West. We're laughing at it. There's something about like the phone. He's like so hyperbole. The phone lines are melting down and something. And we're just like taking it further. Like we're like the phone lines are melted. Gladys is on fire right now. Smoke is filling the studio. And then we did a thing again, just as an homage to Don West because he passed recently. And of course he was at TNA for the longest time too. So that's where I knew him from. And we did the thing where Joe, as Don West, does a baseball, it's like 20 minutes. It's on our YouTube. And it is like, he brought so much stuff. He starts pulling out like X-Men Fleer cards and everything too. And it's just this giant pile, this impossible piles in front of him. And then I put fake smoke in there. And then it just keeps escalating. And then it's just like fades out. And then it's just like the old Saturday Night Live, like, and here's a building on fire, and it's just like, it was so much fun. I put a fake phone number at the bottom, recreated the whole crawl and everything, and that's just something we came up with that night on a car trip. Well, poor Tatiana was trying to sleep in the back.
Poor Tati.
So
yeah, I remember we were leaving Dayton, Ohio, and Celine Dion came on. This was
my God.
Almost 1 a.m. and I'm like, oh my goodness, here we go. And all right, so Joe Dombrowski.
Joe Dombrowski.
What a singer! What a guy!
What
a guy! Well, maybe not. Let's not do it like that. But what a guy! You know what I mean. So you booked your own show recently. We talked about this multiple times earlier. Yeah, no, we're gonna go right into it. You booked your own show recently.
I had the gall to book my own wrestling show.
I just got to ask. Freaky Friday, the Tony Kincaid being eaten by a dragon, the Dungeon Master, whatever, Gary. How? I'm just going to say how. How did this all come about?
Listen,
this is amazing.
And you were there for the first show.
And I was, yes.
When we did the 20th anniversary, which was just, that was just, hey, it's 20 years. I need to do something. And if I do something in the studio, I will wait forever and not actually do something. Because me, again, not good at celebrating. So I just put it like, we're going to do this. MV, are you cool? We do this. It's going to be a free show, so we don't have to worry about the bells and whistles with the state, and it was like, 4 matches. And then I had a bunch of just like Bradley did a gimmick, where he asked to do a speech, we did,
got a wedgie.
Riz, we were trying to do a make good on Riz because he had the terrible interview with RJ City and Dalton Castle, which RJ City still asks me about how he's doing. Good with that, and still feels so bad for that. He calls him a little potato. Like it was weird. We were at, but anyways, that's another story. But anyways, I have been contemplating doing my own show. I always said that I'm done with wrestling if I just say F it and do my own show. Like I'm done with the scene, here and putting up with everybody, which is kind of true too, honestly, a little bit in a certain case kind of situation. But also like I've been talking with people for a while to do a show. There's somebody out there that we were going over things and it was like, okay. And I had a really big idea for a show. And then I got gun shy over I can't come with the money to do this or anything, I was like, I got to pay my bills, and I'm independent, so it's very feast for famine, and it was a famine phase. So, and I was just uneasy about starting it. And then just like, obviously, we have, 880 Wrestling and MV, really, we have the facility and everything. And, he really kind of helped hook me up with that. So it wasn't as, as bad as it could be, for putting a show together. And I know nothing, I've been around it. I've had conversations with people, but the numbers until recently have been like a complete mystery to me too. I literally, like, I'll be at a show, like they got freaking Steiner Brothers or something on the show, and I'm just counting, like, I don't know, maybe I heard how much they were cost to be here, and I'm like counting the seats and doing the numbers on ticket prices, like this math doesn't math, man. Most shows is like, this math isn't mathing, man. Like, there's 20 people in the audience here in McKeesport. This math isn't mathing, dude. Like, or whatever the case may be. And so, and then finally, it was just like, we did that first show, and of course, Beastman has to be like, let's do Sorg Stock. I'm like, well, I gotta do Sorg Stock. And it was like such good. It was like, okay, we did this. Like, I know what this is like. I know like the things that don't work out and the things that do, and maybe we'll do an anniversary show where we do more goofy stuff like that again next year too. Maybe that'll be a yearly thing. I had another idea that is a more seasonal thing that hopefully I can get that going this year. But I just kept saying for over the last year, especially, it was like, okay, Enjoy's doing the thing that all the other groups aren't doing. 880 is doing a thing kind of adjacent to that, but still is a thing that's kind of not what other things are doing. Envy had the greatest line for me when we were backstage between like during one of the matches or something. He's like, you guys, when I think he asked me if I could do it more often, I'm like, no, we're not doing it weekly. No, that's not happening. But it was like, this is DDT Pro and 880's Noah. And I was like, and we get that, like, DDT Pros, you don't know, is DDT Pros like the really off the wall, crazy gimmicks. If you see like a child being wrestled or something, or God, certain things off the top of my head that I don't think I can properly say without offending somebody that they do over there.
If you know, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, if you know, you know. If you see wild stuff from Japan, if it's not Joshi Wrestling, chances are it's DDT Pro. I think they might be the ones that wrestle on like the bullet train and the beaches and things like that. So it was like, okay, in my mind, it was like, okay, you know what's missing? One is like, I love Chikara, Kaiju Big Battle, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing. I almost venture it can't be right, but I almost venture to say nobody's doing a family show right now, and maybe,
like for like underage.
That you can bring the kids to.
I think like Pros of Wrestling is really the only one that like encourages it, like their family based.
Okay,
like
so,
that's the only one that I know of.
And they're off my radar, honestly, right now. A lot of people are off my radar right now, just for, I only have so much bandwidth. But yeah, like but again, in the city, I don't see anybody doing that, right? And that was one angle I wanted to go for, but part of it was also. But it is the Chikara mystery wrestling kaiju kind of vibe that I loved. So I'm like, hey, let's do an April Fool's show. Let's do it on April Fool's. Nobody else is doing anything. And then it's like also like if it, sucks, it's Wednesday night, we'll get who we get, whatever. Do it. It was like, let's do this. Like, it's not a free show. Let's do the full, like, take care of license, all that kind of things. Like, Envy helped me out with that. And... Everybody was surprised when they got paid. And I'm just like, I hope it's enough. Nobody told me what their rate was. Literally,
I was too.
I literally didn't know. I'm like, I said something like, oh, that's kind of like this, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah. Except for the couple people that did tell me. And and I asked in the chat. But anyways, so it was just like, let's do something wild. I had one idea for a match that was MDMA and DOJ coming out of that. Like, that was the obvious one. I wanted, Beastman to be there, the Beastman Gory match, which didn't happen. Sickness, it was going to be the bite off. And RWA was like started to work with me with that and actually gave me some stuff for that. I'm really sad we couldn't follow through with that since they were being so great to me on that. But what came up with the VCW Championship was just as good, I think.
What a match.
The Spaghetti Western match where George became VCW champion for about 10 seconds. But then it just kind of like, what's other wild stuff can we do? Like, I want a parking share match with MV. Okay, who's the guy? And then it's like, hey, this guy from like Brooklyn just moved here. Hey, Shotgun, do you know a parking share yet? No? You're swearing a lot? Keep that energy. The Freaky Friday match, and I was like, okay, but who? And then when and
probably picked the best two for that, actually.
I actually had another idea for the Bakery Boys that didn't work out. I won't say it on air because we can do it someday.
Okay.
But I'll tell you off air.
I'm going to say off air conversation.
Oh, yeah, it's an off air conversation. Because again, I don't want to, I know you don't expose things. That's one thing I've learned from ICP. Don't they shit until it's ready. So, until it's actually going to happen. I don't even like putting shows up like, hey, I'm going to be here like until like the week of the show because things can happen, right?
Yeah.
So, like I don't say like, hey, I'm going to be here next month. It's like, you're going to find out the week of. And I'm like, I didn't know you were going to like this. I'm like, yeah. And yeah. It was just like, I just wanted it to be like the wildest thing, everything to be different. Everything has, and that was the other thing. That's the other thing about like, I don't want to just book somebody to book somebody. Like, I got to have a reason to book you. And I felt so bad because somebody gave me an idea for a match. And then it was like, bro, I'm full. Like, I do not have any slots. I do not want to have any matches, but please, I'm hoping to do another one in the summer. Put a pin in that because I like the idea. But again, could you imagine if we had one more match that night?
It would have been long.
It would have felt long.
Yeah.
We had 6 matches.
With an
no
intermission.
pre-show. You did your pre-show, but
Yeah.
we didn't have because I went back and forth about doing a happy hour pre-show. I was like, no, I don't want to take away from what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want this different vibe in here, and I loved how they did it for when we had four matches. That made sense to me, right?
Yeah.
This is like, no, this needs to be its own thing, right? And we did Dungeons and Dragons match, which is just the most bonkers thing. That's when Danny Moe walked in. Apparently at the beginning of that match, and was like, what is going on here? And then she gets used and body slammed used as a weapon during the main event because of course with Beastman, right? And it's just I was not interested in filling the place because we do what we can, but I knew we weren't going to fill the place. I knew we're going to break even on it most likely, but I wanted to execute that first show the way I wanted to do that first show. Learn from it, do something wild, so that at least when we do the next show, it's like, oh, that's the show with the dragon. Oh, that's the show where this happened. Mm-hmm. That's the show where Casey War became Calvin and then kind of got over, and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's... I figured out what my vibe is out of that. And it's like, oh, we're going to keep doing this. And we're going to keep doing it this way. And maybe it'll be themed. Maybe it'll be not. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll be, I think back in my head more and more I talk about I'm inspired by I almost said one time, oh, we'll just do holiday shows. And I'm like, wait, that's what I was told Fest Wrestling does, which is great. And also they do wild matches down there. Mm-hmm. And I only know a little bit from what Swempa's told me from that company. And I was like, I love that vibe, and especially in a place where it's like, we need another monthly show like a Hole in the Head in Pittsburgh, unless it actually does something different. Mm-hmm. And maybe down the road it does, but not this year. I definitely can't do that. But like, I could see it building into something, and even like when we come up, I have my inner circle of friends pitching me ideas, and I was like, why am I going to do that? They did this over here. Mm-hmm. Tell me what, like I always say when people are like, oh, we're up against Enjoy Wrestling, or we're up against this show down the road or something. I was like, cool. What are you going to do to make them buy a ticket for your show instead of theirs? What are you going to do about it? Mm-hmm. Not like sabotage the show or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going to put on your show? What are you going to put over in your show? What are you going to tell the fans to convince them to have that? It's the same stuff you always do, and then just hope for the best, or are you going to turn up the notch on something if you're so worried about it? Presuming they're even the same fans. So to me, it's like, hey, like Freaky Friday matches have happened. I think I've heard of them here and there. There's other gimmick matches. Mr. Wrestling's doing a lot of weird stuff, and some of the stuff coming to me is like, hey, like they did this. Why don't we do this? I was like, okay, but what's our spin on it? What's our spin on it? Like, there's this one concept that I've seen a couple of times, and I was like, these guys and these guys do a really good job at this. Tell me who we have that could do this better. And what makes it different, and, that's, that's it. It's like, what makes us different? We're not doing something just to do something, I have one match booked for the next show we do.
Oh, one already so
I have
far?
one match that was booked for the next show since the anniversary show.
Oh, wow. So this is stretching over 2 shows now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 3-show arc. Because it started at the first one.
I have an idea.
Stopped the second. What is going to happen to Riz?
Yeah.
He's with the Jocks now. This is my long-term storytelling. And then he keeps getting his notes. We check in on him every week on the podcast because now he's being hazed after he spent so much time on Jupiter with the MDMA. Oh, yeah. He does the DOJ said, hey, we're busy for the draft, such and such. So he put a post up, says, hey, I was told I have to be a part of this. I can't be on the show this week.
Wow.
This is the stuff I'm dealing with.
Wow.
We have to solve this problem.
So you got your own
I know how Adam Pearce feels now.
So you got your own
Which is full circle because he yelled at me one time backstage at ROH because he didn't know I belonged there.
Damn.
Because Joe left me alone in a room with the camera. But anyways, See his bald head sticking through a window, yelling at me. Oh, sir, it's frightening. I
can just imagine that, just seeing Adam Pearce yelling at everyone on Raw. It's just probably
oh my God, yes. And he was like, it's Ring of Honor, so he's the biggest one there. Not true. No, Moose was there. He just wasn't present. So,
oh, that's beautiful.
Anyways, yeah.
So you deal with your own little stuff on your show then every once in a while.
Yeah.
Poor Riz.
I
have to deal with that on this podcast too.
Exactly.
Actually. So I feel you on that.
These people have become a part of it. I try to pull back on that, but Riz is still involved, and I opened the can of worms, and we have to handle that now.
I feel you on that.
So, but we need an opportunity for that. Hopefully, we can book a show sooner than later. So. We can hopefully have an opportunity to get him out of that situation, because otherwise it's going to be a long summer for him.
Poor Riz.
So, yeah, poor Riz on a lot of levels. So,
well, at least you're not dealing with the heel on your podcast. My co-host Lucas decides to ban everybody left and right on this podcast.
No. Instead, I have a co-host who was banned by TNA on Twitter.
Oh, well.
Personally. Which is wild, because he never talked about TNA on that. And this is back in like the late Dixie era and everything, like where it wasn't terribly good. So, all respect to EC3, but everything around him was crap apparently. But yeah, no, he got personally banned. And we're like, but you're doing the show on the Wrestling Mayhem Show. He was doing like a show review, and I was like, so they tracked you down outside of this personally. They didn't ban the show. God bless them. You know?
Yeah. Oh, thank gosh.
I can't remember if I had done a couple of things with those guys at that time or not. And I was like, okay, here we are.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been unbanned since.
What a full circle. Okay, at least he's unbanned now.
I'm curious if it happened around the time where he was an employee of WWE and TNA was starting to get involved. But that's your speculation on my part, and you know.
This is the fly's view from it, yeah.
Fantasy aura, if you will.
Well, sir, I do want to say I do appreciate you again so much for coming down here. I know obviously we had the parking thing earlier, but that was they didn't see that. They didn't see that.
I will find out when I go out to my car.
Yeah, we'll find out. But I do got one final question for you before you leave here today, and I asked this to everybody, and I know you listened to maybe like one or two in the past, so you probably know where I'm going with this. What is the go-to restaurant? Favorite place to grab a meal? I'm a foodie. I love to talk about restaurants.
Sheets count?
Yeah, you can get food there.
Depends on where I'm at too.
Okay.
Depends on where I'm at. So if I'm in the right neighborhood, I gotta go to the In-N-Out Burger. If I'm in the range, I gotta go to the Buc-ee's. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know, Whataburger's off the list though, because we had some problems with it this week. But you know, like that's a regional question.
Okay, let's just take the Pittsburgh then.
Yeah, Sheets.
Sheets. Okay.
Yeah, Sheets is my go-to.
What's the go-to at Sheets?
It's the wrestling show tradition.
That is true.
Is hitting the Sheets. We were really it used to be before the Sheets. After was the Denny's. Then Denny's got weird around COVID, right? And half of them aren't open anymore.
Yeah.
Which has been the problem. So it's kind of like, well, then you get a lunch thing at Sheets, you can get a dinner thing there, you get a salad to eat before the show, so you have the energy for that. So you're not calling people by the wrong names halfway through the show, calling people by people that aren't even there. You know. So yeah.
Sheets is a go-to.
I mean, it's got everything.
That's true. I mean, you got the appetizers, you got the desserts, you got the milk.
It's not half bad. You're not going to get the Starbucks Dunkin' level of coffee goodness, you know, but it's like, it gets you through.
It's good enough to get you through the wrestling vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely better than a Wawa.
Oh, we're not Wawa fans over here?
No, the only time I had a good time on Wawa was after International Pro Wrestling Day, when we were wandering from the bar. I was with the then promoter of IWC and the future Elias, and we were going to Chuck Taylor's apartment.
Oh, Lord.
And all these guys, like, I didn't know who they were because I think they were all ants, and some of them are on AEW now. So we're just all standing around drunk, eating our Wawa in Wawa. We're all just eating subs, like, standing around. I'm just like, I don't know where we're going or what we're doing, but here we are, you know, kind of thing. So, yeah. And then that night continued to get weird from there, so
Sheets is the answer then over Wawa.
Oh yeah,
100%.
God. I've done MMA shows out east, and like all there is a Wawa when you get out and you've finally torn down all the show and everything, and it's like, oh my God, this is so bad. You get something, or like my wife was getting like a scrambled egg something or other, and they forgot the eggs. You're just like, wait a minute, what? You know, the way the package was weird and everything.
Oh,
what is happening here? What are we doing, Wawa? And then they're in Florida too. To taunt me when I go down there. I was like, no, man, no, we're not doing this. You're not doing this, Florida.
That's like missing the buns when you're making a burger. How?
I mean, we've seen some wild stuff. So
Welcome to pro wrestling. That's just gonna be the story.
Yeah, you got to have your sheets order ready to go.
Yes, you do.
Get that app. Get there. I'm definitely a certified freak.
Oh my gosh, I hate.
Not the Scott Steiner's kind.
I'll just leave it at this real quick before we end things off. I had to do a wiffle ball tournament one time.
Mm-hmm.
Sheets sponsored it, and I had to do 3 different ads where I had to read that I'm a freak, and it was the weirdest thing I've ever read on.
I want that on my podcast. Let's do it. Yo, Sheets.
You want that?
We get a 880 wrestling, enjoy wrestling, Wrestling Mayhem Show. Awesome. I don't care, man. Sponsor Baja. We could use these over there too. God, we did Williamsport a couple years ago. So like Sheets, look, we got an Ohio Baja Sheets. Okay, coming up in the fall. Like I know it's usually like Ford and people like sponsor this, but yo, kids got to eat.
I love the pitch.
Kids got to eat. Right?
That's
These
true.
are college students. So
I need to eat.
Yo, they're all
I'm starving, as if you couldn't tell.
And they just spent the entire weekend building cars and stuff and racing it and stuff. They need the sheets. They need to carb up, especially those drivers, right? Michigan. There's a Sheets in Michigan.
Oh, there is? Okay.
We do this Michigan Speedway up there, a formula. What does this show become?
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about freaks and sheets and
I was watching some Scott Steiner TNA promos the other day.
Oh, that's probably where it's coming from then.
It was like Scott Steiner and TNA was pure cinema.
Do the Steiner math.
Oh my God, the Steiner math. Him just yelling at people from like pulling a curtain and just yelling at Matt Morgan for no reason. Like it's so good. It's like that guy's just certifiable and just wonderful. And yeah.
I forget the one clip he yelled at us. He's like, "You here now?" And then I'm like, "Whoa, Steiner, what the hell's wrong with you?"
I was trying to interview Daphne one time, and she was just going through her legal issues with TNA, and she's like, "I can't really talk right now. Why don't you go talk to Scott Steiner?" I'm like, "Nah, I think I'm good.
That's probably
I think I'm good with that. I don't think I want to go down that road for that one."
Probably dodged a bullet.
Yeah. I'm sure it would have been fine. Even like he was at Conquest one time when I was working down there and did thing with Jock Sampson and which was fantastic.
Oh Lord, I can
and
only
I'm just
imagine.
like there's very few people that intimidate me that I'm afraid if I talk to this person it's going to go very, very badly, other than like me tripping over myself as a fan, because I hate talking to people if I don't have anything genuine to say, because I'm afraid I'm going to rant and go off and just be a super fan and just embarrass myself in most cases. And that's one of those like, no, I'm kind of afraid to talk to that person in general because I just don't see it ending well in any case, kind of thing. So yeah, I can't think of too many other people that are like that other than like people I've like encountered and did have a problem with, So, but that was, out of everybody I've run into, that's the only one who's like, oh, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, maybe not Scott Steiner. Let's just take a step back there for a second.
Yeah. Then there's my cameraman operator feud with Cruel, the atrocity Cruel.
Poor Cruel.
He tossed. We're doing a show up in Detroit, of course, and we have a camera up on the table in the soccer field, and he comes out, and he's interrupting something, and he's just chucking, security jobbers everywhere and throws one and they skid across the table of my hard can. I'm like, whoa, not the promoter is in the ring in the match saying, not the camera. And I post it like that night or like something, and he retweets it from his Twitter account and just says hard cam. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh no, what did I start right now?
Oh God!
And then the next show, he threw somebody through a wall by the play plates and the skating rink. That Violent J was there. God, Detroit is so weird.
It sounds like
it. But great, you have to go with zero expectations. Okay, tennis. God, this is a whole other podcast if I get into this.
Yeah, I'm still not over the.
California's great. Like SoCal wrestling's amazing. Tennessee's just another thing you got to be in. Florida disappointed me, honestly. Really disappointed me.
You would think it would be good because it's nice down there, nice weather.
I mean, okay, I went to NXT. I shut down the NXT at Full Sail, apparently. Went to the last show ever there. Well, I know they came back since, but the last show they did there.
Wow.
Yeah. Did that show 2 weeks before COVID. I went down for work, and I was got in a day early. I was like, let's go to NXT. And then... Yep. Then we were in Performance Center the next week.
Damn.
So, yep. That was fun. So, good time with that. But other than that, yeah. Anyways. Well, I gotta go do another podcast.
You do got to do another podcast.
I got to do 2 of them.
I know. So
yes.
I'm going to give you the final words. Is there anything you would like to leave with the listeners of Two Jagoffs before I end things off today?
Man, I think, God, I don't have a good catchphrase or anything for this, but we talked a lot about, I'm really big on doing the things you love. My mission for the last probably 15 years was I just want to do dope stuff, kind of, or some variation of that. And that's what I've gravitated towards. And, even the Baja and everything that I do with a really important client is from doing the wrestling podcasts, and putting yourself out there, and you become known for something, and you become the person people call when they need somebody. I've been told that several times. You're the person I call when I'm going to do the thing. Hey, I'm going to do this thing soon. You're going to get a call, kind of thing. Being there, being present, delivering, being ready for it, and also not melting down when there's problems, So I think that's the biggest thing. And surrounding yourself, there's always surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Weeding out the problems. Wrestling promoters could do this too in their locker rooms, because Joe had a really good philosophy on this. Weeding out those problem people and having the people around you that also want the same goals, whether getting better at the thing they do or just putting on that show and getting it done. Casey Orr is one of those people. He's my go-to guy.
He's
my go-to guy when there's a problem.
I've noticed that at the last Wrestling Mayhem show, actually.
Oh yeah, with that, but also there was a couple where it was he's a go-to guy. He's one of those guys I want on my team.
Facts.
Him, Jared, I mentioned, like those are the high end. If I need a super team that is going to just run into just buzzsaw through any problem that's going to come in front of us on a show, that's our people.
Those are the people.
Those two specifically, and then God, if I could shout out the superstars that have been helping us, Rob, Ashley, those guys have been on for a long time with us, and God, I'm forgetting a million people, and everybody that's been through the door on Wrestling Mayhem Show and keeping that going from week to week for over 20 years. That's we just did 1,000, and the biggest messages I got from a couple of my closest friends were take a minute to think about that community that we got. There's talking about those podcast numbers aren't spectacular, but the community that shows up every week and online and around the wrestling that happens here and across the country, it's cool that I get to travel for work, and then, hey, so and so's in this town, you want to go get lunch, kind of thing. That's the coolest damn thing.
That's so cool.
Yep.
Well, that's some great words of wisdom to end things off. Obviously, I know you got places to be, so go do your other 2 podcasts. Thank you for taking the time to come down here and do my podcast. I really appreciate you.
It's excellent.
For doing this. And thank you all so much for tuning in to Two Jagoffs this week. Don't forget, there'll be a new episode coming out this Thursday. Lucas is unfortunately back, and we will be going over the NFL draft, so that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you tune into that. For one more time here at the Media Hub, I'm Austin Cairns. That right there is Michael Sorg. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.